So hello and welcome to the Global Mindful Drinking Festival. My name's Drew Yeager. I'm one of Club Soda's co-founders, and I'm hosting this brilliant panel talking about this really important subject about how I can socialise sober. One of the big conversations that I have with people in Club Soda is, especially with people who've changed their drinking during the pandemic, and lots of us have drunk more or less during lockdown, and then just feel a bit uncomfortable and weird about pubs opening up and socializing again and not really sure. It's like we've kind of lost our ability to know how to do it. So it feels like these kinds of conversations about how to socialize when you're drinking less or not at all are really important. And I'm really glad that we've got a panel of sober socializing experts really with us. So just to kick off, I'd love it if you could introduce yourselves, tell us a bit about you, and also tell us what your favourite alcohol-free drink is when you're going out socialising. And could we start with you, Hannah?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Hannah, and I run Sober Butterfly Collective, which is based up north, essentially. That's where we sort of started. So we originated sort of in and around Leeds. And we've started to sort of spread our wings out a little bit further now. So we've spread across the north, and we host sober socials. Basically, that's what we're all about. The name of it is Sober Butterfly because everybody calls me a social butterfly. So it was a bit of a play on the word of social butterfly. So we host sort of like monthly community events, and then we've just launched today something quite exciting, which is across sort of northern counties, and it's going to be a bit further sort of next month. And yeah, my favourite alcohol-free drink, I quite like to go for sort of like mocktails, so I'd probably say like a virgin porn star. So I like to sort of look like it's inclusive, so no one knows that you're not drinking.
Nice, good option. Emily, how about you?
Hello, everyone. My name's Emily, and I founded Sober and Social back in 2018 now. So we're just coming up for 3 years old next week. And I started that on the basis that socializing was probably one of the most difficult things to do when you go sober. And I didn't really have any other sober friends and thought, well, I'll start a business called Sober and Social, or at the time, community, Sober and Social. Where people can go out and do fabulous things and sober socialise and get to know each other without the pressure of having to drink. So we do events, we do membership, we have a little podcast, and we've done anything from like sober bar crawls to a day rave to a yoga and brunch to taking over a whole nightclub. And yeah, we just continue to grow and connect people. And it's really, really exciting, and I love it so much. So and my job was basically socializing. So I thought, well, as I'm not drinking, I would still like to continue that. So yeah, that's what I do. And my favorite drink is, I like a Liar's Italian Spritz with a tonic water. I know it's very exact, but it is literally my favorite drink.
That is super specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. How about you, Katash?
I was gonna say I'm very fancy. Like, imagine ordering that at the bar, my darling. Like, sounds way better than any like cocktail you'd order, to be honest. I need to get that recipe from you after. But yeah, my name is Katash. I'm basically your favorite sober auntie now, since I'm getting older. I think this is 2 years I've been doing this with you guys now. I am a DJ / event planner / carnival queen. So you would probably see me at any opportunity trying to get in a 2-piece and put my feathers on. That's what that does. My favorite drink, actually, non-alcoholic drink. Well, drink in general is tea. I know it makes me look extra auntie-ish at the clubs, but I don't really care. And iced tea is good. And depending on how much sugar I've had for the day, actually, I will dabble in a little mocktail, to be honest. But I find they're so sweet, especially the ones with the syrups and the grenadines and whatnot. So sometimes I just stick to the tea, no sugar, please. So
yeah, no, I'm with you on the good cup of tea.
Yeah.
But I'm getting old.
So many options as well for tea. That's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Scott, how about you?
I've got a cup of tea here.
Yes,
So,
yes,
I love tea too. I'm definitely in the tea club. So yeah, I'm Scott. I started Proud and Sober. It must be about 2 years ago now, which was the kind of primary focus was to bring LGBTQ plus sober people together, because there wasn't really anyone doing that when I gave up drinking, which is 3 years ago next week. So I just wanted to kind of create a space for that to happen. We've had a little hiatus over the last few months, but we during the pandemic did weekly socials for Queers Without Beers, which is obviously an arm of Club Soda, that I'll be working with over the next few weeks and months and years, hopefully, as it moves into its charity status. And yeah, so in terms of drink, it does vary depending on the situation. I've recently been, when I was at Manchester Pride, was on Heineken Zero, which I think is really good. But my favourite has to be Thompson and Scott Naughty Prosecco.
Oh, fancy. That's fancy. So we actually, we're kind of ranging between the fancy and the cup of tea. That's good. We've got all types of drinking represented. I was actually, so I wasn't involved in the first weekend of the festival because I was at a family wedding in Ireland, and my life was absolutely saved by Heineken Zero and its ubiquity behind bars everywhere in the Republic of Ireland. Absolutely brilliant. So one of the things which I want to talk about is the way in which, particularly in our culture, we mix up these words drinking and socializing as if they mean exactly the same thing. And I think because we live in a culture which is filled with the idea that your social life is going to revolve around drinking with people, whether that's at home drinking and barbecues and parties, or whether that's out in a pub or a club or a restaurant or wherever it is, we kind of think that alcohol is going to be a big part of what socializing means. I'd love to hear from you about, as you've changed your drinking, how it is your social life has changed. Could I start with you, Scott, on that?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, this, for me, because I think I, even until recently, had quite a lot of fear around socializing, because for me, from 17, socializing meant drinking. There wasn't anything in between. And so when I gave up drinking, it kind of felt like I didn't really know who I was anymore, and I didn't know what to do to socialize. So it took me, I would say, probably over a year really to kind of redefine that, and I got a lot of social anxiety about going out into spaces without drinking because it was such a big part of my identity. And then the pandemic hit, which was like a really weird thing, because obviously then socializing in the original term was taken away from us. And then since I've come out of the pandemic, or since we've been allowed to socialize again, all of my fear is gone. And now I just kind of go for it and do exactly what I used to, obviously just minus the alcohol. But I think it's about just redefining what socializing means to you, and more importantly, who you want to do it with. Because I think I know that a lot of my close friends, our entire relationship was founded on alcohol, and we needed to take a little step back from that relationship dynamic at the beginning. And we've now redefined that in, I'll go for lunch with them or brunch with them, but I won't go out on nights out with them, because not that I would find it triggering, but just because we've got different definitions of what a fun night out is now. And then also you meet other people, like the other people here today, that also probably want similar things and actually might want to go out on a night out, but you're also all secretly, by maybe 10 or 11 o'clock, you've all danced yourselves silly and you're actually happy to get in a cab and get a kebab and go home and sleep. And I think it's just about being really honest with yourself with that, and making sure that you're kind of being true to yourself and you're not trying to do what you think other people need you to do.
Has anyone else found that as you've changed your drinking, it's actually reshaped some of the way in which you spend time with different types of people? Katash, what's your experience on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, university, so I'm from Trinidad originally, and then I came here. So we have a big drinking culture in the Caribbean. We drink all the time, okay? Rum till we die, as we say. But when I came to London, it was like different. Like I came for university and everybody was drinking and going to exams like the next day and still acing it. I tried, it failed. So it wasn't like, that was anything for me. As well as I felt that a lot of people were trying to bond and make friendships by starting with lines like, oh, I got so smashed this weekend, or I got hammered, or let's do this. And I'm thinking none of that sounds fun to me. I don't know if people hear themselves when they say it. Like, I just basically almost killed my liver. Let's do it together. And I was just like, yeah, this is not what I want for my future. I mean, I can enjoy those friends in small doses. Like by like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, I'll probably leave because I don't want to be the one holding your hair up while you're throwing up in the bathroom, or like, helping you with your drunk jogging or whatever. So I'll still enjoy them in small quantities. But definitely I did open up to different friendships as well, to different socializing things. So we could do games night. We could play games. We could go play tennis indoors or do something else, or quiz nights or whatever. So I definitely think, stopping the drinking really helped me kind of open my mind up, I would say, and be more out there. And I mean, it is scary trying to make friends in different circumstances, but you'd find that you connect with everybody on a different level. Like each person you would find like you connect with from something that you all will have something in common, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I mean, from your intro, Emily, it sounds like actually you have an entirely new social circle now than you had 3 years ago. How have the drinking Emily friends reacted to this change that you've been through over the past few years?
So they're very supportive, which I feel very, very grateful of. I also think they're also very relieved as well, because I think when they meet me, if I say that we're going home at 11 p.m, they're just grateful that it's not 11 a.m, which it obviously used to be before. So I think they're very supportive, and it's lovely. But also what I think, being sober and like just getting involved in sober communities, and also obviously starting Sober and Social, it's allowed me to really still keep my old friends and appreciate them, but just be so open to having like a whole fresh set of friendships where they are kind of like in alignment with my new lifestyle, like actually understand, how difficult it can be to go out actually and sober socialize sometimes, and really understand like all the kind of like challenges, but also like celebrations that you go through like in your sobriety. And like Scott kind of touched on, it is like a bit of a journey almost, and like that's okay. It's like, maybe at the beginning it is a bit anxiety inducing and it's not something you necessarily feel comfortable with, but the more that you kind of like stay at it, and the different types of events that you go to, and perhaps different friendships that you make, that all kind of contributes to making like your sober socializing experience like just perhaps a little bit easier. So I think for me, it's definitely been both. Like I'm grateful for my old friends, but obviously they still drink, and that can be difficult at sometimes, and I'm not going to go to all the things that they go to, but that's why having like a sober community has been really important, because then I also have those set of friendships where you can call in those friends, and someone, you have your kind of wing people to go out with, which is lovely.
I think that's a really important reflection, actually, that, for some people that we might have socialized with, that actually our entire relationship was built around drinking with them. And it's kind of like having a shared hobby, isn't it? If you were massively into train spotting and then you decide, I don't want to do train spotting anymore, it's going to be a bit weird standing on a platform with somebody else as they're taking numbers for intercity trains as they go past, because you're like, I don't enjoy this anymore. And I wonder whether, do you think we kind of feel a bit embarrassed about backing away from friendships in some kind of way if they have centered solely around drinking? Hannah, what's your reflections on that?
So I don't know if I'm the best person to comment on that, because my friendships haven't really changed that much. I've been really fortunate that all my friends are really supportive. And one of the main things when I decided to stop drinking, which was my personal decision, was I still want to do everything that, I didn't want it to change my social life. So I really threw myself in right at the beginning to everything that I did before, but just without alcohol. So like in my first month of not drinking, I went to an Oktoberfest event, and, everyone was getting up and dancing on tables with the steins. And I was sat there like with a pint of lemonade, because they really didn't have much at all. There was Coca-Cola lemonade. And I kind of sat there and I thought, well, I looked the odd one out, sat down. So I need to get up and dance on this table with this pint of lemonade. And it was just like a mindset thing. And because I did that straight away, and then I thought, well, I can do that. And then I kind of just started like ticking off all these other social events. I pushed myself and went out, and I still go out till 3 a.m. With my friends. And I think for me, it's more about the company. So because my circle of friends are very good friends, I can still have a good time with them, even if they have a few drinks and I don't. We can still be on quite a good level. Granted, I'm not sat around a table at 6 a.m. anymore, you know, in the kitchens. Like, I don't stay that long, but I still can stay out quite late. But a bit sort of like, you know, Emily, like I came from a hospitality background. So my sort of, you know, my whole social life was revolving around drinking. It was all my work was all around drinking. And then when I came out of the industry, I kind of realised that I'd lost all of my hobbies. So I used to dance when I was younger, and because of the shifts that I was doing, I couldn't sustain any hobbies. I couldn't even like go to gym classes regularly, because my shifts would change. So that's what kind of really made me think about my drinking, because I was like, well, the only thing that I do is socialise and drink. And I kind of felt a bit of a void when I came out of that industry, because those sort of friends, I suppose, colleagues, kind of like all fell away. And then all my actual friends all have kids or partners and do other things. And I just had all this free time that I didn't know what to do with, which is why I set up Sober Butterfly, because I wanted to find people that aligned with my life now. So we go wild swimming, we do yoga. You know, I still organise events where we can go out and we can get dressed up a little bit, but it's things that we can do earlier in the day, like in the morning. So a bit like what Emily was saying, you know, your friends might want to stay out till 6 o'clock in the morning, but you might be getting up at that time because you're going for a sunrise swim instead. So
yeah, it may just be me, but in the years where I haven't been drinking, particularly where I haven't been taking drugs, traveling through Vauxhall of a morning is always an interesting experience where you kind of that used to be me. Anyway, so one of the thank you for sharing all of that. One of the things which people worry about genuinely is about whether they're going to be able to enjoy life if they're not drinking. And I'd love to hear from any of you on that. You know, what brings you joy in your life now, and particularly kind of joy in social connection. What works for you?
I'll go, because I can
Go
talk
on.
about sort of just from today. So connection is probably like one of my biggest values as a personal value. So I've done quite a lot of sort of like self-development work, which I think a lot of us do when we stop drinking. We go to therapy, or we go to coaching, or we try to sort of understand, you know, how we are, or why we are how we are. But sort of connection is my sort of key thing. I love socializing. Like, I love going and physically meeting people. So I kind of touched on it before, but the Curious Coffee Catch-Ups that we've launched today is all about that. So it's about going and meeting people and just kind of experiencing that joy of, you know, we had 30 plus strangers meet today, and all of them have gone away. They all came really, really nervous and have gone away absolutely, you know, buzzing that they've just kind of connected with someone. And, you know, we're not all going to be friends. We're not all going to all start doing things together, but just to have sort of connected with one person that they can have, you know, that they can message and reach out to, and that just understands, is sort of really important.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I answered the question there. Sorry.
No, it was a really vague, weird question. So, Katasha, you were talking a little bit about, you know, being everyone's favourite sober auntie, and with your cup of tea and your carnival outfit. It sounds like there is a lot of joy for you in that.
Definitely. Like, I mean, a lot of people, like, this is so funny. you know, when people come around like in a group and they're like, oh, maybe you need a drink. Like, do you want a drink? Because obviously they see people are, so they'll see me and I'm like always big energy, big personality. And they're like, what have you had to drink? And I'm just like, tea. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or juice. And they're like, no way. I'm like, yeah, I don't drink. And they're like, how you like this? And I'm like, I just go with the moment, you know, I live with the times and whatever. So I don't feel like personally like I need alcohol. I think when I stopped drinking alcohol, the first two things that I noticed is that I had way more time and I was not hungover at all. So it's like I woke up, I went out and I woke up and it was like a brand new day. It didn't feel like I was living Friday until Tuesday. It didn't feel like, oh God, now I have a headache. Oh God, I'm dehydrated. Oh God, now I feel for a really greasy burger to soak this alcohol up. So I think just kind of it's a really important one to know who you are and to just not, I guess, feel ashamed of it. That's why I think some people drink to socialize, but I feel like there's more paranoia in trying to figure out what you did or what parts of you came out that you weren't comfortable with when you were drunk, rather than just being sober and being present and aware and giving your full self, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's my thing. I've never I'll just leave that there because sometimes I walk. Just cut me off.
I mean, I think definitely if you're the kind of person, if you're drinking really quickly and you're drinking to blackout, that's actually quite, you might have had a good time, but how would you ever remember it? And that can be quite anxiety, quite apart from the effect that alcohol itself has in making you anxious. It can be really anxiety making the next day that you don't know what happened on the night before. It's quite scary.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Sorry, somebody else.
Yeah. Emily, so what's your experience now of finding joy and social connection with others when you're doing that alcohol free? What's that like for you?
Like, I love people, and I've just always loved people and be fascinated by people. Even just from such a young age, I've always had jobs in hospitality, whether it was working in a hotel or bed and breakfast, my first job, and then working pubs, and I did hospitality and events management at uni, and then went into a job that was basically getting paid to socialize. So actually having that element and now being sober, it's amazing to actually keep that, which is what I love and what I thrive off as a human, and to be able to do that and bring people together through I suppose helping each other, supporting each other, and also just helping people find those deeper connections, kind of like Hannah was saying, that is what I enjoy through my sobriety. And with that kind of brings you actually deep conversations that you remember, that are genuine, with people that you haven't just met in a toilet and they've become your best friend and you can't remember who they are on your phone the next morning. Actually people that you're oh, do you know what, I really got on with you and I can really relate to you and I'd really like to see you again, a genuine authentic connection, which I don't think I wasn't having many of them when I was drinking, and now in my sobriety I definitely am. So I think that definitely brings me enjoyment, and also being able to do all the things that I love doing, for example, go to Ibiza, going out and going to a rave to house music, or still going to hen parties or whatever the big celebrations are, being able to do that, remember them, truly enjoy them. Of course I'm not going to a nightclub 4 times a week like I was before, and it's quality over quantity now when it comes to those nights, but I do still find a lot of enjoyment in just going and having that freedom in dancing to house music and being with people that you love. And essentially that's what it is, isn't it? It's the people that you're with, it's the conversations, it's the energy, it's the atmosphere. Those are the things that are enjoyable about sober socializing, or just socializing in general, not necessarily the alcohol. And I always get people to ask this question to themselves, did you actually always have a good time on a night out when you were drinking? And the answer is no, you didn't. And that's because, it wasn't about the alcohol. And the alcohol, you may have drank more to try and make it better, but ultimately, the alcohol is just not the key ingredient in our nights out. It is all the other things. And you can't get away from people that you don't connect with, or if you're not enjoying the music, or if there isn't a good energy, or it just isn't something that you enjoy. Yes, alcohol can help you get through it, but I don't believe that it makes it that much more enjoyable. And
Mhm.
you're literally drinking a ton of it and you're not really there anymore. Then you're in your own little world, and maybe that might be enjoyable until you wake up the next morning and you feel like you've been hit over the head with a hammer and you've had a bad night. It's like the double whammy.
Yeah.
So I definitely found a lot of enjoyment in my life and in my social life through not drinking in a way that perhaps I never thought I would be able to.
Yeah. So one of the kind of the curiosities about this conversation is we're talking a lot about going out, and obviously that's been like a rare pleasure. That's a rare pleasure still for many of us at the moment. Scott, you've done quite a lot of online socializing, and I wonder what that experience is like sober. I don't suppose you've had that experience drinking, but like.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think one of the things when we started doing the online socials for Quiz About Beers at the beginning of the pandemic, I mean, Emily can attest to this. I am not a naturally outgoing kind of socializer as a person. I'm quite an introvert, and I don't find it natural sometimes to just kind of open conversations with new people. So kind of going into that experience and it was more for me about bringing together the community and making sure that people felt supported, in specific the LGBTQ plus community, because I knew that there were a lot of people that were very lonely. Not to say that other people weren't, but I know that it was impacting our community quite significantly. And so it was an experience that I won't ever forget, to be honest, and I'm very, very grateful for, because there were some amazing people that joined those socials every week. Some people didn't come every week, but some people did. And we, over the course of kind of like 3 or 4 months, I think it was in total that we did them originally, we built some great connections, and we chatted every week, and we kind of helped each other through it. And even though just before I would join, I'd get quite nervous about, how many people are going to turn up, and actually, am I going to need to keep starting conversations because people are too shy, and all of those things. Actually, once we got into a routine and people kind of built those connections, even though they weren't in person, you did familiarize yourself with each other, and kind of the conversation ebbs and flows the same way that it does in real life. And actually it was a really lovely experience, and we could kind of be there for each other, and we kind of had running jokes every week that kind of carried over from the week before and things like that. And it was just a really, really nice opportunity, to be honest.
Can I just add to that? Because I actually set Sober Butterfly up in August last year, with the intention to start doing in-person events. That was the whole point of it. That was what I wanted Sober Butterfly to be. But because of the pandemic and the lockdowns extending, it basically just grew online. We had to postpone the launch party. It never happened. So we didn't actually really do our first like proper big sort of event until like 9 months in. So we built our whole community through the pandemic, through the lockdown, through doing like Zoom calls. We did like Zoom socials and, like workshops or yoga things that were all online. And there is real power in just connecting through a computer. I mean, we had no choice, but
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I've got a close group of friends, and we've been meeting every Thursday night, regular as clockwork, for now it's almost 2 years. Like,
Wow.
we're getting together and we're chatting every Thursday night about our weeks and what's going on for us, and it's really special. And it's one of these things, it couldn't have happened outside of the context of a pandemic. We would never, if one of my friends had said to me 18 months ago, what I'd like us to do is make a weekly commitment that at 8 o'clock every Thursday night we're going to sit down for an hour together on a video conference, I would have thought they would have lost it. There's something wrong with them. But it's become a really important part of the way in which I make connections now. It's become really important to me. Any other kind of like sober online socializing experiences that people have had over the past year and a half that really kind of stand out for them?
Like so many.
Oh, really? Okay. Tell us.
I literally could. I don't think I could do any more like online sober socializing if I tried. If I'm completely honest, like over lockdown, I really did think that maybe like my Zoom was gonna like freeze and just pack up on me, because like we weren't doing so many. Like Hannah was like, okay, we started online, which is amazing. Like she's done so well to grow her community, and now they're like kind of moving offline, like and meeting each other. Whereas obviously all my community was in real life for, you know, what, a year and a half, nearly 2 years. So then to suddenly be like, okay, I'm running, you know, a community called Sober and Social that's been built on sober socializing in real life, to like, oh, okay, you can't actually do what it says on the tin in the way that you intended it to then suddenly have to go online. We were, you know, we were doing an event every week. I was maybe even at the times, like we were doing a Thirsty Thursday meetup, we were doing yogas, we were doing fitness classes, we were doing DJ events, we were doing panel talks, we were just doing everything. Like I don't think my mum and dad really knew what hit them when their kitchen was getting taken over every night to like host yet another sober social event online. So yeah, I would say like definitely the past year I've had lots of experience doing that. And then obviously we launched our membership, which has been fabulous, and that started all online. But what's been lovely is like people to get to know each other over such, you know, a difficult time for people as well, right? Especially at a time where lots of people were struggling with their drinking, and it had maybe perhaps, you know, ramped up from, you know, maybe a weekly to a daily thing, and then people perhaps being on their own and needing like a lot more support. So, you know, without our online space, like we obviously all couldn't be here tonight, but we all couldn't have actually helped support our communities and our friends and our families, like in this kind of like drinking space, essentially, or alcohol-free space, whichever way you want to look at it. And then to be able to come offline now and actually meet these people and connect people in real life, it's actually really special. But the beauty of it is that you still get to keep the online element, which you couldn't have done before this. So you get to support people in so many more ways now, which I think is a really great thing to come out of this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Katash, your work as an entertainer is like depends on getting together people in the real world for parties, right? So what has life been like for you over the past couple of years through all of this?
Yeah, so I was gonna actually add to what Emily just said. So surprisingly enough for me, I'm not much of a phone person. I have like 3 phones and I'm the hardest person to meet, but I did have a lot of like messages and texts from people just saying like, you know, how are you coping, I guess, and like, what are you doing? I'm coming to you actually for inspiration and ideas, because I know if there's anybody who could just be lit by themselves, it's you. So it was good. It felt like warming for me to know that I was, I guess, supporting or inspiring people like without even thinking about it, through my sobriety as well, because people were like, okay, so we can't play like drunken truth or dare or whatever they were doing, because I think some of my friends did look at it like, I guess, they felt kind of awkward, I guess, drinking by themselves on a Friday. So they're like, I'm not gonna drink today, so what can I do? So we started doing online workouts and stuff. Like, I don't know if you guys know Chloe Ting, but that lady she's crazy, right? And then yoga and stuff. But most of my events and everything went online. My fitness classes did continue to go on, even because we were keeping like the 6 foot, what was it again, like the distancing. So I just had less people come into my events, but we were still there. But cheekily, we used to like just still stay after and socialize, and then we'll tell everybody about it and stuff. So I don't feel like a big shift from not seeing people in person, because I felt like I was still connected to them via the digital space, or, you know, WhatsApps or Instagram or whatever. So yeah, didn't really change that much.
I think there is this really important thing. I've had this conversation with people before as well. You know, when people, particularly who are social drinkers, and that kind of classic after work on a Friday drinker who will happily sit with their friends and demolish several bottles of wine. Generally, generally, actually, what in my conversations with people, if that was your kind of drinking pattern, people generally didn't bring that kind of drinking home with them. You know, it was a fairly rare person who sat at their kitchen table on a Friday night and drank 6 pints of lager by themselves. Because it's just not the same, you know, with that social connection. But one of the things which I've noticed in conversation with people, especially now that pubs and bars and restaurants have reopened, and we do in the UK at least have the ability to go out and socialize, is that people seem to have forgotten all of the other stuff that we've done along the way. And I do find myself having to remind people who are nervous about going to the pub. It's like, remember when you met up with your friends to go for a walk and you had a picnic and you went running together and you chatted on Zoom for 3 hours and you did an online pub quiz and all of these things that we've done. It's almost like the pull of the pub is so magnetically strong that the moment it reopened, we forgot anything that we'd done to stay connected. And I find that really curious that we kind of instantly revert back to drinking and socializing. That's the way in which we do it. I think it's a really interesting thing that's kind of happened in our culture. And I think there's something really important for those of us whose lives don't center around the pub to go, hang on, everyone, do you remember all of this other stuff?
Yeah, we were doing, yeah. Can I just say, actually, sorry, was someone
No,
speaking?
no, go on, Katash.
Can I just say, sorry, strangely enough, speaking with some friends, they were just saying, like, you know, so I had two different types of friends. Some who were like, oh, the pandemic, like, this is really terrible. What am I going to do? I can't wait for things to open and for me to socialize again. And then there were the other types of friends who were like, oh, the pandemic, great, actually, because we'll never get this time again. Let me really reflect and whatnot. I'm coming back to the friends who couldn't wait for things to open and they've been out socializing now. They're actually like really bored and tired. And they're like, you know, like people who are out now and who couldn't wait for the pandemic to be over and who couldn't wait to go to the pub and stuff kind of aren't the people that they want to connect with or stay connected with for the future. And that was a good point. Like that really hit me because I was just like, actually, so maybe going out, like rushing to go out isn't a great thing because there's probably nothing out there for me right now in terms of the mindsets or the energies of the people who are like rushing to like go out and socialize and meet other people who are like so excited to be for the pandemic to be over. So I just wanted to put that out there as like food for thought. Sorry,
I think,
Scott.
Just to add to that, I think a lot of people, when it sort of all reopened, everyone did rush to sort of socialize. You had like all these people that you suddenly had to like catch up with and meet in person. And I found a lot of people within sort of my life, drinkers and non-drinkers, just kind of reached burnout in summer. Like it just was just like, it was just constant and you suddenly were like doing so much that you kind of forgot how to rest as well. So we'd had all this time, you know, taking a bit more care of ourselves, and then suddenly that just disappeared and it was all just like go go go, and then everyone just kind of like crashed and burned a bit. I don't know if anyone else has sort of felt that, but
I'm seeing nods from introvert Scott.
No, I had the same thing. I mean, I burnt out quite quickly. But I was going to say as well, I think the media / our government also sold the pubs being open as a specific date that had to be in everyone's diaries. So it wasn't, I don't really think it was that people were almost given an option. It was very much, this signifies that it was almost like the pubs are open signifies that we've got most of our freedoms back. And so there was kind of it was synonymous really that alcohol and pubs and freedom all became meshed into one. And then everyone decided to just kind of go a bit crazy. I mean, I went into Soho not long after. I don't know, I can't remember when it was now. I think it was like in between the two lockdowns. And I only went out for like lunch, and I had to leave by about 4 o'clock because it was so busy that I couldn't cope. There were too many people, and it was like sensory overload for me because I just wasn't used to it. I was used to sitting in my flat on my own for like the last 8 months. And then all of a sudden there were thousands of people around me drinking and getting kind of more and more rowdy. And that's fine. I don't mind that, like you do you. But kind of the closer that they got to me, the more I was like, no, I'm out. Get me home.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the one thing that I said to people quite often, and I think this is still true, is that the government's timetable to reopen isn't your timetable to go back. You can always make decisions, and it's always okay to say no. And particularly if you're invited to a party and you don't want to go, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say to your friends, I'm having a quiet night in. You don't even need to make an elaborate excuse. Your friends will, I hope, continue to invite you, regardless of if you just say no this once. But I think we walk around with such fear of missing out all of the time that we imagine if we say no to one party invite, we're suddenly going to turn into a social pariah and nobody's going to invite us to anything ever again. And so we pitch up at everything all the time. And as you say, burn ourselves out and exhaust ourselves along the way.
Yeah, I don't think no was in my vocabulary until recently, and I'm like 2 years sober. But I definitely have that fear of missing out, and I just kind of want to do everything. And it's only sort of recently through sort of like doing coaching that I'm starting to kind of recognize that the things that I do really want to do and the things that actually I was just doing to people please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. So I would love to, as we kind of draw this conversation towards a close, there are going to be people watching this who maybe are on the verge of changing their drinking, in the early stages of changing. Maybe they are cutting down, maybe they're going alcohol free, maybe they're just kind of exploring options. And let's imagine they've got a social event coming up in the diary next week, and they are currently bricking themselves about it, and I've been in that situation. I'm sure you have as well. I would love to hear what your top tips are for kind of preparing yourself for that event and then getting through it, and then how to cope with the whole experience of your first time going out, if you're determined this is a night where I'm not going to drink alcohol, and what that might look like for somebody, what practical things somebody might do. Can I start with Katash for your thoughts on that?
Oh gosh, your favorite auntie.
Everyone's favorite sober auntie.
Thanks, guys. Hannah, like what? I can't remember actually who said it. Hannah Scott. With the saying no, like that's a big one. You have to say no and mean it. And like even if there's that awkward pause of silence where it's like no, and then you guys just, you know what I mean. So stand firm in your decisions. I guess don't be deterred or persuaded. If anything, you could definitely try. What I try to do to not be overwhelmed, especially with events, is try to interact more with purpose. So kind of have an idea of like the conversations I'm hoping to have, or like what I'm hoping to understand. If not, you'll be sitting there listening to people's life stories for the whole night. Because when people get sometimes drunk, or I don't know, sometimes they might be stone cold sober, but they just really want to like release or vent, or speak to a stranger and just offload. So try to interact with people with a bit more purpose, and then you realize you're not as, you know what I mean. What else would I say? Just be yourself. Don't be afraid to make fun of yourself as well. Like, so if someone says, oh, you're such an old woman for not drinking, be like, that I am, and this is what else I do. I have tea and biscuits and I love them. Like, own your truth, and just don't take yourself too seriously. I mean, there's so many other tips, but like, I don't want to just be yourself. I think just be yourself. Was that the question? I feel like that was.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Yeah. Saying no, standing your ground, being yourself, embracing the. Yeah, I'm old. I'm a bit boring now.
Embracing the boringness, because you know what? I actually gain like happiness, I guess, from people trying to like persuade my decision. They're like, just come out tonight. Just come out tonight. In my mind, all that translates to is, this person kind of just really wants to see me. It's all love in the end, even if they say I'm a granny or whatever. It's just love. They just really want me there. And I feel happy for that, but I'm still not I'm gonna make myself happy and put me before them and their wants and needs. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's self-care to me.
Yeah, brilliant. Any other tips, Hannah, from you?
So in my sort of early days of sobriety, I planned a lot of things for the next day early, so that I kind of had something to look forward to. So I wasn't tempted to kind of just be like, hit the fuck it button, sorry. But that I kind of just had that to look forward to. So it was just like, well, no, I don't want to drink because I'm up early in the morning and I'm going to do this tomorrow. Another one is probably I tended to like ring ahead to places that were sort of bigger events to find out what was available, just so that mentally I knew. So like the Oktoberfest event I went to, I didn't do that. That was really early on. And all they had was lemonade and Coke, both things I would not normally drink at all. So it was just niggling in my head the whole time about that. Whereas if I'd had something that I actually enjoyed that was non-alcoholic, that would have made me feel a bit more comfortable. Which probably leads into my other tip, which I always ask for whatever drink I'm drinking in a stemmed glass. So it's just sort of a mindset thing, but I like to have a stemmed glass. So if I just have a tonic, an elderflower tonic, I ask for it in a gin glass, because you have the right to have it in a gin glass just because you're not having gin. And it often deters a lot of questions. So if you're quite nervous, People just think that you're having a gin and tonic. I went to a wedding recently and they didn't realise until like halfway through that I actually wasn't drinking, because the whole time I had mocktails or I had drinks that everybody on the outside thought that I was drinking. So yeah,
those big golf ball glasses just full of gin and ice and garnishes, and tonic and ice and garnishes, and who would know that it's not gin?
And I think be prepared, so have some sort of answers if people are going to question you on it. You know, some people, it depends on how they ask the question, but I sometimes just said to people, it's a lifestyle choice, and that was it. I just shut them down straight away. Like, there was, you know, just like somebody being vegan, so I kind of didn't let them probe much more than that. Whereas some people who asked quite respectfully, I would let them know a little bit more. But you don't have to tell people your deepest, darkest stories and, you know, whether you hit rock bottom or not. Yep, some people are looking for that because that's what they think. You know, if you've stopped, that's what everybody seems to think, that you've hit a rock bottom. But you don't have to tell people why. So
no, it's really important, Hannah. Actually, it's really important to say, you know, this is you owe nobody a justification for you not drinking. You know, it's your choice, and everyone else in the world can go hang it. You know, you don't need to. You know, that the sense that you need to say why you're not doing this thing that everyone else is doing. Forget that. You know, choose what you're doing with confidence, and ignore every other temptation to try and explain yourself as if it's something you've done wrong that you need to kind of account for. You can stand confident in it. Emily, how about you? Top tips from you for somebody who's approaching a sober event for the first time and nervous about it. How would you advise them?
I mean, we've already covered some amazing tips, so I'm going to try and add to them. So practical tips wise, like I've said this before, but I do like to think kind of works for me quite well, is to get in a really kind of like good headspace before I go out. Because I think sometimes a lot of our drinking is, you know, if we're feeling stressed or we're not feeling in a good place, it actually doesn't really take that much for someone to be like, oh, just have one, or for you to like go to the bar and just grab it and press the F button. Because it's easier. I didn't want to swear. I didn't know if that's okay.
You can swear.
I normally like saying the fuck it button, but I just didn't know if if it was post watershed or not. So I think for me, I always go for like a run. I meditate for 10 minutes, and then I have like a really nice shower or bath with some nice like shower gel or like some bath bubbles. Sounds very extravagant. But it really does help because it just makes you feel like really good. And if you're going there already feeling good and already feeling in a confident space, then I think the better we feel, the less likely we are to engage in something that's like negative for us. So that's kind of what I would do, kind of like pre-prep. And in the early days, again, another tip I do like give quite often, but I do think it genuinely really worked for me, was to set myself a power hour. And that was to say to myself, I know that I really want to go because I really want to show up for this friend because I've been friends with them for a long time, or it's a really special occasion. I know it would mean a lot to these people if I turned up, but I know everyone's going to be drinking. So that actually makes me feel quite nervous, that if I set myself a power hour to say, right, you just have to go for an hour, show your face, be present, obviously, you know, go to the bar, order an AF drink when you arrive. And if you're still feeling really, really anxious after an hour, or you're not having a good time, or you know, you don't even need to give a reason. It's just not tonight, you know, I could leave. And that really helped me just kind of get away from this whole notion of, oh, I have to be there all night. I kind of have to show up and party with everyone and dance and everything. And all these things I was like worried about. But just by breaking it down into that small chunk really, really helped. And then I'd also, again, if it was something that was particularly going to be quite challenging, just have like my exit plan. So that was kind of taken off the table. So whether that was like, right, I know that an Uber is only £20, or a tube station was up the road and the last tube was 11 p.m. if I wasn't feeling it, or the local taxi number was this, or, you know, there was someone else that was going and that wasn't drinking, so they would be up for leaving with me if it was too difficult. And just really like planning that out, that if I needed to, I could leave. And that kind of really helped me to like take that expectation and pressure off myself and actually stay longer at social situations and genuinely really enjoy them, instead of worrying about, oh no, if it was to get difficult, what would I do? Because I kind of already have that in my head. So they would be my kind of, 3 main tips.
Brilliant. Scott, anything to add? Lots of tips already.
I mean, to be honest, everyone's covered pretty much everything. I would probably just echo a lot of what Emily just said, though. So for me, who still sometimes suffers with social anxiety, I still make sure that I've got an exit plan planned out. For example, even when I went to Manchester Pride like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had the offer to stay somewhere with my friend back at their place, but I needed to make sure that I had my own hotel room so that if I needed to escape from being around 5,000 people, I could go and do that whenever I wanted. And like, it's obviously no criticism of my friends or anything like that, but it's just that I needed that security blanket and I needed to do that for myself. And truth be told, I didn't really need it. And I didn't for the whole weekend feel like I needed it. And Sod's Law says that I actually probably could have not spent the money on the hotel and stayed with my friend. But had I not had that as an option, I'm not sure that I would have enjoyed it as much.
Yeah.
And it's just that's probably my biggest thing I would say to anyone is think about all the things that make you stressed about the night, and one by one, see if there's something you can do to help yourself and deal with it before you get there. So if it's like Hannah said, you can figure out what drinks there are available, then fine, make sure you've checked that. Or is it that you need to know what time the last train is? Or is it that you need your own hotel room? Or is it that you need a friend to go with you? Ask if you can have a +1. Whatever it is, there's something manageable that you could do to help yourself before you go. So yeah, I'd probably say that all of the above.
Yeah. So I've got 2 things that I wanted to add. One which I heard yesterday, which just bears repeating, is never, ever, ever offer to be the designated driver. It's a really bad strategy because you are going to be the last person at the party surrounded by drunk vomiting people, and that is never fun. So you make yourself hostage to everyone else's decisions about when they've had enough, because you can't leave because you're obligated to them. So don't be the designated driver. Find another reason to go home. The other is, and I've kind of changed my view on this over time, is that I think if your friends are doing rounds and they offer you a drink, I think you should say yes, and not to have an alcoholic drink. Still have the drink that you want. But if your friends are offering you a drink, it's because they're signaling something really important about including you and you being important to them. And it might be a slightly awkward and hackneyed way of them expressing love and care for you to say, I want to do this by putting a glass of wine in your hand. But it's completely legitimate to say, yes, I'd love a drink, and I would really love a tonic water, or I would love an alcohol-free beer, or I'd love mocktail, or whatever it is. And to actually engage with people in that way, I think, is really important. So we're coming up towards the end. If people want to connect with you, how can people do that? Have you got sober social stuff coming up that you want to plug for people? Ways that people can, in the UK and around the world, get involved in your sober world or other people's sober and mindful drinking worlds? And how can people connect with you? Let's start with you, Hannah.
So we're just on Instagram, really. That's sort of our main platform. We have set up a mailing list, so we appreciate people miss a lot of posts on Instagram thanks to the algorithms, and I have a full-time job, so I don't have time to post enough to make sure that everybody sees everything. So we set up a mailing list so that people can catch our events. So our sort of community events are usually at the end of the month. And we tend to do them in various places. So we've done Harrogate, Halifax, Leeds. We're going to Tatton Park at the end of this month. So that's in Cheshire, and that's actually a family-friendly event. So that's something that I've found people struggle that, are either single mums or like childcare and things like that. So we're just going for a walk, and you can bring your kids, bring your partners, you can bring your dogs. It's just open to everybody. But yeah, you can find details of that on our Instagram. And what we do for our events is then we make a group chat on Instagram and add the people in that are attending, and then we can arrange sort of the details and things like that.
Nice.
And then, yeah, our Curious Coffee Catch-ups launched today, and they are basically going to be in various locations every month, the second Saturday of the month. So you'll just have to like check on our Instagram to find out the locations of those. But yeah, we're adding sort of Birmingham and Essex next month. So it's
Brilliant.
spreading a bit beyond the north.
Brilliant. Emily?
Oh, I love that, H. I'm going to have to get in contact with you because I've got so many people in those areas actually that would love to come to those events. So I'll catch up with you after it. Yes, so you can catch us at sober and social _ on Instagram because someone else has the full account. It's not me. They don't use it. So if you are that person and you'd like to give me that handle, please do, because I'm trying to serve a bigger purpose in the world. And then we have a mailing list as well. You can go to our website, which is soberandsocial.com, and sign up there. And we have a membership that is online. We also do in real life events as well. And our membership doors are open at the moment. So if anyone is needing that further connection, further support, or just really wants to make some sober pals, please come and join us. And that's closing on Monday evening. And then we've got some, we just actually did like our first out of London event. So we did Manchester and Bristol, which was lovely. So we are going to look to do, you know, some more events around the UK as well to connect more people together. So, and any questions, just DM us on Instagram and I shall get back to you and help you connect.
Brilliant. Scott, how can people connect with you?
Primarily Instagram, Proud and Sober, through DMs. There is the website www.proudandsober.com. But I'm also going to signpost people to Quiz Without Beers because that's the kind of where I'll be doing most of my work in the community over the next however long. So yeah, just to shout out that on the 28th of October in London, we are doing an in-person meetup, and there will be a few fun things for people to come and see and do while they're there. Details will be shared. I won't give away too much now, but details will be shared via Quiz About Beers, which I think is QWB UK on Instagram, and then on my grid as well on Instagram.
Brilliant. And Katash, how can people connect with you if they want to come dance with everyone's favorite sober auntie and drink tea?
So if you want to come dance with me, so my classes are going to start back. I'm not sure exactly when, but if you want to find out, follow me on Instagram at DJ Katash. You can keep up with my DJ in there, but my fitness stuff is on Cash Cats with 2 Ks. Yeah, Cash Cats. So I basically show people about like home workouts, how to like exercise from your house, kind of continuing on with the COVID like adjustments when the parks and the gyms close down and stuff. So that's where I am. Cash Cats at Cash Cats, www.cashcats.com. Or if you just want to keep in touch with me, DJ Katash. And I hope to see you. And we'll put you in some feathers and some all that good stuff. Yeah, all of you.
Excellent. I'm in. So just from me, we've got actually this evening, 8 o'clock this evening, we've got our Club Soda new members social. We do it every month. So if you've just joined Club Soda, if you want to get to know other people, we have an online social every month. That's happening at 8 o'clock tonight. Also throughout the festival, we've got a closing social, but then every Wednesday night, every Thursday, every Friday night, there are groups that you can come to if you want to connect with people face to face. We're also on Telegram. We've got a small group on Telegram that you can chat to people and get engaged. Lots of people joined our Telegram group this evening. Very exciting, saying that Hannah had said that they should come and join the festival. So, so thank you to all of you for helping us get this out in the world and build some more connections between people. Thank you so much for your time and contribution. It's been brilliant to chat with you all.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good evening.